everybody. I'm Jason.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nick.
And today we are going to be talking to you about a different way of thinking about studying English using three important concepts. So today in our talk, we will do a short introduction. We'll talk a little bit about what kind of things you've been studying in English so far. Then we will explain these three important concepts of C, A, and F, and then we will give you some examples and activities that you can try and practice. Let's get started. So, all of you have been studying English for many years, probably all through junior high school and high school. But what kind of English have you been studying in junior high school and high school? Nick Sensei, what do you think? What is the main focus of junior high school and high school study?
That's a great question. Well, of course, I think many students must study a lot of grammar.
Definitely, lots of grammar. And I think also maybe vocabulary.
Of course, yeah. That's a very important thing for junior high school students to study.
Right, yes.
Also, they must study a lot of reading and writing.
That's true, reading and writing. And I think with that reading and writing, they're probably doing lots of translation work, maybe from English to Japanese and Japanese to English.
Sure, of course. And there may be some listening, but as a result, maybe a little bit less speaking.
It's true. I think some classes have an ALT teacher so that they have a chance to maybe do some listening to some native speaking.
Yeah, definitely. But don't you think there may be a little bit less pronunciation practice too in that case?
Probably not much pronunciation focus. So
right.
Yeah, in Japanese, the hatsuon, yes, is probably not a strong focus of what they're doing.
I see.
Another big question is, why are students studying English in junior high school and high school?
That's a great question. So yeah, what are the language goals for the high school or junior high school students?
Well, I think one of the most important ones is the university entrance tests. Yes, it takes a lot of study to get ready to get a good score for those tests.
Right. Also, in addition to those tests, maybe an Aiken test too?
I think it's very popular. Yes, must be very popular. I think many students try to get up to a level 2 in Aiken in high school. That's really nice.
Right. I think also some goals for students would be to travel, maybe work abroad in the future.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I think traveling is a really wonderful activity, and many jobs use English, so it's great.
Yeah, sure.
And I think another good point, or another reason why people are studying, is probably maybe they have some family or friends who speak English. Yeah, and it's a good way to practice.
Yeah, definitely.
I think so. So let's talk a little bit about the language.
Okay.
We mentioned grammar and vocabulary, but basically I think language is 4 skills. Right. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And grammar and vocabulary is a part of all 4 of those skills.
Right.
Where does pronunciation fit in?
So pronunciation is linked, of course, for listening and speaking skills only in this case. That's
true. And I guess that means that spelling is basically only for reading and writing.
Right, that's true.
That'll be important when we talk a little bit later about these other concepts. All right, so
we talked about these skills.
Yes.
So how do we know if these students are improving their English language skills?
That is one of the most important questions, I think. And in junior high school and high school, students are doing lots of tests.
Right.
They'll get test scores, and they can know how good their English is. But another really important point is the teacher feedback.
Sure, that's right. So they have to get a lot of advice from their teachers. It's really great.
Exactly. And the teachers can explain a little bit more how and why to improve.
Okay, I see. I think another final way to tell if you're improving is just your own feeling for the language too.
Absolutely. The building up of confidence, I think, is very important for all students to improve their language skills.
Okay. But today we have a new approach, is that right?
That's right. Today we're going to be talking about C, A, and F, and how these ideas fit on top of the other skills and how we can basically use it to improve all of our English skills.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's take a look at what is CAF.
Sure.
And I think, Nick Sensei, I think you have some really clear ideas about what these three concepts are.
Yes, let's talk about the definition of CAF. Now, the important thing to remember is this is not only related to language. So if we take a look at the first one, complexity. Here we see a simple definition, simply how difficult or complicated something is. And we can see it's on a range from low complexity all the way to high complexity. And a good example to check what is complexity is looking at math.
Math. Okay. So math is another subject that students study a lot throughout their entire junior high school and high school career.
Definitely. So here we can see a low complexity math problem, 1 plus 1, very simple, very easy.
That is very easy. I think that's elementary school.
Right, and algebra in the middle. And finally we can see a very difficult differential equation, which is a very high complexity question.
That looks really, really challenging.
It is,
yes.
Definitely.
But how does this relate to language?
That's a good question. So in terms of language, the simple definition is simply how complex the language is. This is the number of words in a sentence, the number of ideas in a sentence, or simply just how popular each word is in the sentence.
Okay. Can we get a little example of that?
Of course. So again, here we see a low complexity range to a high complexity range. And a very low complexity sentence would be something simple, just like we can see here, I like ice cream.
Me too, I like ice cream. Great. How do we make it more complex?
To increase the complexity, for example, we can say, I have a soft spot for ice cream.
A soft spot? That's interesting.
So what do you think is different that makes it more complex?
Well, have a soft spot, there's more vocabulary words.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of an idiom.
Yeah. That's right.
Wow.
Yes, and it's less popular than like, so it becomes very complex.
I understand. Wow, very interesting.
Yep.
How about accuracy? What is that?
Yes, let's talk about accuracy. First, in the context of non-language. So our simple definition is here, how correct and or precise you are, meaning you are free from mistakes.
Wow, okay.
And again, talking about accuracy, we have a low accuracy all the way to a high accuracy, obviously. And we'll look at a simple example with archery.
Archery, so like sports.
Sports, yes.
Wow, okay. Let's take a look.
So here we can see a low accuracy score. You're not hitting the bullseye. You have missed the bullseye.
Right.
Yes. In contrast, a high accuracy score is simply hitting the bullseye.
Right, it's like being perfect.
Yes, being perfect.
Wow, interesting.
And language is the same.
Language is the same, okay.
Right, so in language, accuracy is basically the number of mistakes, in this case, grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes, vocabulary mistakes, vocabulary use, and meaning.
Wow, so that's where those ideas we mentioned, grammar, vocabulary, spelling, pronunciation, are very important.
Right, yes. And here we can see an example with low accuracy to high accuracy, where we see a sentence with grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, and maybe a little bit of pronunciation or writing mistakes.
Right, I can see very clearly this first sentence has many mistakes.
Right. Versus a perfect sentence, I enjoy eating white rice.
That is very clear. Thank you. Now, how about fluency? What does that mean?
That's a good question. So fluency is simply the smoothness, ease, and the speed at which something can be done.
Okay.
And again, we have a range between low fluency and high fluency.
Right.
So a good example is to look at something like traffic.
Traffic, cars.
Right.
Whoa, okay.
So Jason Sensei, let me ask you a question. On the left picture, the low fluency picture, how fast do you think these cars are going?
They're not going fast. They're stuck. They're going really, really, really slow.
Yes, that's important. Speed. They're going very slow. They're stuck. How about the right picture? What do you think?
That looks very smooth. Looks like they're driving at maybe 70 or 80 kilometers an hour.
Right. And of course, language is the same.
Okay.
So in language, fluency is basically how fluid and how natural, how coherent, basically how easily the language can be used and understood.
Right. And if we use reading as an example, what would that mean for fluency?
Sure. So here we see a low fluency score for perhaps a non-native speaker who can read at 50 words per minute.
50, okay.
And a high fluency score is like a native speed, which is around 250 words a minute.
250?
Yes.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It is, definitely.
Ooh, I understand.
So why don't we look at some more examples of CAF in action?
I think that's a good idea. So, Nick Sensei, do you like Disneyland?
Oh, I love Disneyland.
Me too. I love Disneyland. And I think many of our listeners out here also love Disneyland. So I think we can use Disneyland to explain these ideas of C, A, and F a little bit more in detail.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with C.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to give a sentence, and I want to see if you can increase the complexity, and then I will try to increase the complexity.
Okay. Give it a try.
All right. So I like Disneyland.
Okay. Let's try to increase the complexity a little bit. How about I like Tokyo Disneyland?
That's a good one. All right. I'll try to go a little bit more.
Okay.
I like going to Tokyo Disneyland.
Ooh, that's nice. How about this one? I like going to Tokyo Disneyland with my friends.
Ooh, that's good. Okay, friends. I'm going to say I really like going to Tokyo Disneyland with my friends.
Wow, that's getting complex. Okay, I'll try to do one more. I really like going to Tokyo Disneyland with my friends, especially in the autumn.
The autumn. That's great. Time. Okay, I'm going to do one last one.
Okay.
I'm going to try and make it really complex.
Okay.
I really like going to Tokyo Disneyland with my friends, especially in the autumn, because the weather is nice.
Wow, that's a fantastically complex sentence.
Yeah, so we went from I like Disneyland all the way up to a really, really big sentence.
That's right.
Wow.
So you can see very simply a low complexity and a high complexity example.
So let's now talk a little bit about accuracy.
Sure.
Accuracy. And here we have many sentences about Disneyland.
Yes.
But I think they all have some mistakes in them.
Yeah, they don't look perfect.
Let's fix them.
Okay.
Okay. Let's take a look at the first one.
Okay.
What's the problem here?
Right. It looks like word order problem. So he Disneyland likes should be he likes Disneyland, right?
Right. Yeah, we're changing the order of the words. That's good.
How about the second one? What's the problem there?
It looks like it might be a spelling problem. We're using a Z for Disney instead of the S, the real spelling of Disney.
Right.
So spelling. How about the next one?
Okay, I see. It looks like maybe a pronunciation error. In native English, we wouldn't say Disneylando, right?
Right. I think the O comes from the katakana, Disneylando.
Sure.
Yeah. So if we copy it directly into English, we need to get rid of the extra O sound.
Right. Yes. How about the next one? What's the problem there?
This one is the be verb. We don't need the be verb here. So it's a kind of a grammar problem.
Yeah, looks like that.
Just he likes Disneyland. That's good.
Sure.
All right, how about the next one?
So, very versus really. I think in a natural sentence, native speakers would use really.
I think so. The meaning is kind of the same, but some of them match better with other words.
That's true, yeah.
Okay.
How about the last one?
This is a kind of a tough one. I think many people make this mistake with these adjectives of ed or ing.
Right.
And in this case, we need to say Disneyland is exciting.
Yes.
That's the correct one.
Okay, so we have a great example of how accuracy can be
There's
perfect.
so many different ways to make mistakes.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on to fluency.
Okay.
And I thought to give a good example of fluency, we might actually do a little bit of reading here.
Sure.
I'm going to put a passage up here on the screen. I'll read it first.
Okay.
And I'd like could you assess my fluency?
Sure, yeah, I'll let you
Okay.
know.
So, my sister loves Disneyland. She goes to Disneyland 4 times a year. Her favorite season to go to Disneyland is fall because there are some special decorations for Halloween. She usually goes with her school friends, but sometimes we go as a family. What do you think? How about my fluency?
So that was great. Nice reading.
Thank you.
I would say to comment on fluency specifically, it was a little bit slow.
Right.
The words per minute were probably less than native speed.
Right.
So how about I show you an example of what native speed might sound like?
Oh, please, go ahead.
Okay, I'll do the same paragraph.
Okay.
Here we go. So, my sister loves Disneyland. She goes to Disneyland 4 times a year. Her favorite season to go to Disneyland is fall because there are some special decorations for Halloween. She usually goes with her school friends, but sometimes we go as a family.
Wow. Well, first of all, that was definitely much faster than my speaking. I also think that was very smooth.
Right.
You were really connecting the words together. I think when I spoke, it was just word, word, word. And you were going word, 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 word.
Yeah.
It's much smoother.
And that's exactly how fluency works.
Wow, that's really clear. Thank you. Thank you about that. But
So an important question I had.
Okay.
So of course we have C, A, and F, but how do these concepts work together exactly?
That is a really, really good and important question.
Okay.
I think when we start, the first thing we should talk about is complexity.
Okay.
Because complexity is kind of the person's level. So one of our listeners who might be in junior high school doesn't know much vocabulary, doesn't know much grammar, so it's going to be very simple.
I see.
But after studying for many years, people know more vocabulary, so they should be able to make longer speeches, longer sentences. So complexity really depends more on the level.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But accuracy and fluency, this is where it gets a bit tricky because our brain is very powerful, but really we can only focus on accuracy or fluency.
Okay.
One at a time.
I see.
Yeah. Let me show you. So, when we are working with accuracy, we kind of need to take our time. We need thinking time to think about the rules, think about which vocabulary word is the best one. So it's probably a little bit slow.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we feel comfortable, we're calm, we have time.
I see.
Yeah. Whereas fluency, that's more like we said about speed. We need to be quick. We need to be able to answer with an answer very quickly with very little thinking time.
Right.
So it's kind of the opposite. Yeah. Which means if we do them together, probably we're going to be making many mistakes and it's going to be going very slowly.
Sure. Yeah.
So what we have to do is first get our complexity and then practice it to be perfect, and when we feel comfortable, we can start increasing the speed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question for you then, how can we increase accuracy and use language more fluently?
Well, exactly. It's what we have to do is to practice a lot.
Sure.
Practice is the key.
I see.
But it's not the only thing. A lot of these activities need to be repeated
Okay.
If we repeat some of these activities, they become a little bit easier.
I
and
see.
Therefore, our feeling is better, and maybe our fluency starts to go up.
Sure, I think so.
And this is where teachers are important. We need somebody to help check on our improvement to make sure that we're progressing in a good way.
That's true.
So how about we tell some of our listeners about some good activity ideas that they can practice in the classroom or at home?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So I think, Nick Sensei,
Yes.
I think you must have a really good idea about complexity.
Right. So a really great complexity activity is what I call mind mapping. And the simple goal for mind mapping is to create an outline and vocabulary list to increase the number of ideas and variety of language that you use while you're speaking.
Right. So we're just trying to build more vocabulary and more ideas.
Right.
Are we writing sentences?
Well, let's take a look. This topic is my holiday.
Okay.
And we'll start with a simple topic.
Okay.
Holiday. And we'll expand from that. For example, we'll first talk about activities.
Sure. Activities that we can do in our holiday.
Exactly. What can we do?
Okay.
We can expand talking about transportation.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's how we go somewhere.
Exactly. We can also expand that into accommodation.
Where we're staying.
Exactly. And we can also talk about who we will go with.
Who, yes. Maybe friends or family.
Exactly. And of course, finally, we can talk about, for example, where are we going and when are we going?
The time and the place.
Exactly. And
Wow.
I think you can see a pattern about how we develop this.
Absolutely. I think if we really think about it, these WH questions, who, what, where, when, how, are really good for building up ideas.
Exactly. And we can also expand, for example, using the activities part of our mind map.
Sure, okay.
And we can combine sentences together.
All right, I see two of the activities here. We have swimming and bicycle. So if I make two sentences, I went swimming on my holiday vacation and I rode my bike on my holiday vacation.
Those are great sentences.
Yeah.
And we can actually combine those to create a more complex sentence like this.
More complex, wow.
So simply using and.
Ooh.
I went swimming and rode my bike on my holiday vacation.
Okay, so we've taken two sentences and we've now made it into one sentence, which is actually longer.
Right, exactly.
That's really, really interesting. So it's not just how many words, it's how many words in the sentence.
Exactly. And ideas, which we have too.
Great. That's fantastic. So how do we know if we are improving in our complexity?
That's a really important question. Of course, the first thing is we can count how many words we have used.
Right, in the entire text, how many words?
Exactly.
Okay.
We can also count how many words in each sentence.
Right, each sentence. Short sentence, long sentence.
Yep. And we can talk about how many different words we used.
Different words. So for example, holiday and vacation kind of have the same meaning, but it's different words.
Exactly. A variety will make it more complex.
That's really interesting. Thank you so much.
Sure. Now, Nathan Sensei, you have a nice activity example, don't you?
I think so. I have an idea that we can use to practice our accuracy.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, there's many kinds of tests that students do. So, one kind of test that maybe you'll be doing in the future is the TOEIC test. And the TOEIC test has multiple choice questions.
Right.
That means you have a choice of A, B, C, or D, and that you have to choose the correct answer. There's only one good answer. We have to be perfect.
Right.
So I thought maybe we could try two questions.
Okay, let's do it.
So the first question is a grammar accuracy.
I see.
So let's take a sentence. Last week I blank shopping in Ginza. We have four choices. Go, went, going to, or went to. Only one of these is correct. Nick Sensei, which one do you think is correct?
Well, we're talking about last week, so we have to use past tense. So the good choice would be B or D.
That's right.
However, shopping is not a place, so we don't need two. So I think the best choice is B.
That is correct. B is the correct answer. Very good. And that was perfect. You're thinking about the different grammar points that get it down to the perfect answer. Very nice. All right, the next type of question is what we call a picture description question. And again, we're looking for the one perfect sentence that describes this picture.
Okay.
Now, in this case, it's not really grammar. It's not really vocabulary. It's more about the ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. So take a look at this picture here. And we have 4 sentences. People are watching a sports event.
Okay.
The park is being cleaned. The dog and baby are playing together.
Okay.
The city park is popular with many people.
I see.
Once again, I think only one of these sentences best describes the picture.
Definitely.
Can you choose which one you think it is?
Well, I don't see anybody cleaning the park.
It's a good point.
The dog and baby are separated. So I think D would be the correct answer.
D is the correct answer.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So these kinds of questions are a little bit tricky because most of the vocabulary is in the picture.
Right.
But it's really about the idea, how the vocabulary works together that really creates the correct answer.
I see.
It can be quite challenging.
Right. So for our students, how can we see that the students are improving?
That's, yes, a very, very good question. With these kinds of accuracy things, of course, doing a test many times, like we said, repeating, can be good because we can see if the test score is getting higher.
Sure.
But here is where I think teachers are very, very, very important.
Right.
Because teachers can give feedback to the students and they can explain how and why students are making mistakes.
I see. So advice from teachers is really important.
Absolutely. I think so.
Okay.
All right, we got one more activity, and I think, Nick Sensei, you're going to give us a good fluency activity idea.
Yes. So for fluency, this is a great activity called timed reading.
Timed reading.
And the simple goal is just to improve your reading speed by reading a short passage every day.
Okay.
While you time yourself.
Okay, so we're repeating every day.
Exactly.
Okay.
So after many repeated practices, reading the same passage should become easier and more natural.
Okay, let's take a look.
Yeah, let's look at the park. So the first step is to read the passage every day.
Okay.
And then start writing down how long it took you to read.
Okay, so we can use like our smartphone as a timer.
Definitely.
Okay, good.
And you can see this student has gotten faster and faster.
Oh, look at that. We can see that each day from Monday to Friday, the time is actually getting faster.
Right.
Wow.
And of course, you can look up any difficult vocabulary and check it later.
Right, because I think some of the difficult vocabulary, if we know it, we can read it faster.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow.
And the goal is by the end of the week, you have become faster reader.
Right. So how can we actually see our improvement?
Of course. So the simple way is just checking your time as you time your activities.
Right. We saw that on the screen. We saw the time getting faster.
Exactly. And simply a higher fluency means your timing has gotten faster.
Right. So faster reading means faster, better fluency.
Yes. And of course, if you understand more vocabulary, you should become more fluent.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really key is understanding more and different vocabulary.
Definitely.
Right. Wow. That's where it kind of combines a bit with the complexity.
Yes.
Wow. That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. So today we've had a chance to show you these different 3 concepts of complexity, accuracy, and fluency. And as you can see, complexity, accuracy, and fluency work with all 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And it allows you to take Take what you've learned in the classroom, in junior high school and high school, and try to use it. Use it to create your new language, the language that you want to talk about. And CAF activities also really help us to see if we are improving by getting that feedback, checking the time, counting the words. And that's important to make you feel better about your language so that you can see that you are improving. And that will help you to feel more positive about studying English in the future. So really it comes down to these 3 key points.
Yes. So of course you have to practice.
Practice.
You have to check your progress, and you have to repeat many times the activities.
I think so. Repeat lots of those activities. So our final advice to you is, of course, to keep working hard. And we know that if you practice, if you repeat, if you check your language, you can improve your English.
Yes. Good luck, everybody, and thank you for listening.
And thank you, Nick Sensei.
Thank you, Nick Sensei.
Thank you. Goodbye.